In this video, we're going to see a few techniques to create God rays. Now, when we talk about God rays, we talk about rays of light that pass through fog or some smoke. And as you can see from these photos I found on internet, they are more visible when the sunlight is pretty strong and or when there is a visible fog in the scene. And the problem about God rays is that normally people tend to overdo them. They're very kind of strong effects, and you want to do it in a very subtle way, probably, because otherwise they can really change the, I would say, image plan of your artwork. And I mean, you can use God rays to drive the attention to the main focus of your image, and that's a good thing. But they're actually very hey catchy, and so you need to take care of them. And if you decide to add them into your Photoshop file, you need to do it in a very subtle way. At least you can try, you can start in a very subtle way. Now, there's different techniques to create these rays. I will show you a couple of them. I mean, there's one which use some smart filters of Photoshop, and another one which is probably my favorite. It's about creating a custom brush, and you can use both. It depends on the scene. Now, because we are working on a scene which is without fog, almost without fog, I mean, the effect is not going to be that visible. So I'm not suggesting you to do such a thing in this Photoshop file, but at least, we can try something. Now, because I'm going to create some God rays close to the camera, we need something, for the light to pass through. So I believe that I can take this tree here, make a copy of it, and bring it here at the top, on the top right, in order to simulate we have a tree close to the camera on the right. So I'm going down here inside the background folder, and you can see here we have the original tree, which is this one. And so I make a copy of it, Ctrl J, and I'm bringing it in on top in the props folder. Okay, and now I can close everything else just to clean up a little bit the file. Okay, that's it. Now what to do here? We can take this photo, right, and keep the horizon where it is right now. You see, these lines help us to understand where the horizon is. If I press Ctrl H, I get the horizon of my render, and I can see this is exactly the situation, the position I want for this photo. So I will I will try to keep the photo in the same place. And as you can see, I'm having some issues scaling the image, and it's because I'm have habits in the new Photoshop, and I'm using this one, which is the old one, just to let everybody follow this course. Anyway, I'm keeping the horizon where it is, and I'm just scaling up the tree as much as I need. And I can do that because, remember, this is a smart object, so the quality of the original photo is not touched, is not changing, okay, whatsoever. So this is what I want, okay. And of course, I'm going to just take these part of the image and keep this part of the image. So I'm just taking that and masking it. So that's what I want, that's what I need, and I am free to push the tree a little bit up there. And now we can have some God rays coming through the leaves, coming through these holes there. And one way to do that is to use a filter, which is the blur, radial blur. And how to do that? First of all, we create a new layer here, and we pick a color which should be the color of the light. So it's a pale yellow for now, and I pick a very soft brush, circular one, and I just do one single click, 100% opacity, so I get something like this, and I bring this on top of my tree here. And since I want only the areas where I can see through the tree, I need to delete everything else from this layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to control click on the tree here, on the shape of the layer. And as you can see, I have the selection now of the tree, but I'm still on the new layer here with the yellow stroke, and I press cancel. And in this way, what I get is, you see, just a yellow color in between each hole of the tree photo. Now we convert this to a smart object. Sometimes it could take more time to create a smart object. It's because Photoshop, is saving your file as a backup, and you don't know it because it's not telling you. So if you convert a layer into a smart object and it's taking more time than usual, don't worry, you will get a message, and you need to wait for the backup copy of your document to save before you can create a smart object. Anyway, now that we have a smart object, we can go here to filters, blur, radial blur, and the radial blur is basically used to work with a pivot, and you can change the pivot here in this small square. Not really cool, not really friendly, I would say. I cannot see a decent preview of what is going to happen, but this is it. And I don't want this, okay, which is cool to add like a speed movement on some tires if you have a car. I'm going to use the zoom mode, and the zoom mode, basically like is shifting the borders of the image, and in order to give us feeling of speed or hyperspeed. But you can move the power of this effect on the top right, and so you see you get this kind of lines. And if you pick a quality, you can go draft, good, or best. If the image is really high resolution, I suggest you to go for draft, press OK, and take a look how it looks like. And then if you look at the result, you go back to this smart filter and you put best and you press OK again, because now it will take a few seconds. Anyway, you get like something like this, and then you get this effect. Now, the problem of these is that, as you can see, even if I use 100% in the strength of the filter here, the length of these rays is not that long, and there's not really a way to fix this if you keep the image there. I will show you what to do in a minute. Anyway, God rays and any glow effect should go in screen mode. Okay, so in the previous lesson we have seen that if you want to paint light on object, okay, or if you want to paint the source of the light, like I don't know, a light bulb, you need to paint pale yellow color, for example, in a black layer in color dodge mode. Okay, but this thing is different. We are not painting light on an object, we are painting light which is scattered in the light in the air because of dust, because of particle. Okay, that effect should be in screen mode. Okay, now if I move this, you see there's like some rays of light, and it could be something. Normally what I do is I tend to duplicate this layer many times. So I press Ctrl J, Ctrl J, and each time you press Ctrl J, you see the effect gets stronger. This is not something I would keep for this image. It's terrible. It's too much. I'm just showing you, the idea. And then what you normally do here is you select all the layers together and you convert them together into another smart object. And the reason is we need another smart object because we need to try to delete a little bit of this kind of very sharp lines, which is never the case. I mean, you never get this kind of result. And now, for example, I'm getting a message on the other screen saying completing pending document saving operations, which means exactly what I told you 2 minutes ago. I need to wait for the document to save in order to go further. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is to add another smart filters on this new smart object, and you can choose between Gaussian, or you can even go back with the radial blur, but this time you can choose the spiral option, and is going to basically blur these areas and keep this untouched, which is exactly what we want, because we can keep this very sharp effect close to the tree, but as long as the rays are going far away from it, you need something more kind of blurred. Okay, so I mean, it's taking ages. I need to wait for the saving process to go, and then we start again. Okay, here we go. We have the smart object ready, and we can go back on filters, blur, radial blur. This time, instead of going with the zoom method, we spin the result, and we pick this pivot and we bring it up there basically. And you don't need that much of an amount, okay? Just probably, I don't know, 2, it's enough. 2 or 3, it's enough. We can try. If we like the result, we keep it, or then you see, this is like 3 is too much. So I'm going back on the radial blur, and I'm going for, I don't know, 2. See, we want to see some of that effects. Let's try, I don't know, 1. Okay, that's cool. And you can, again, do another smart object, you do another radial blur, and then mask the result with this. Or we can even do this now. We can, I don't know, have 3 here as a blur, and then we can just, mask these effects from the tree itself. So I'm going for a radial gradient, black color, and I'm doing it like this. And so you see now we have sharp ray of light close to the tree, and then when it goes far away, it becomes blurred. Now, again, this is not an effect I would recommend to do for many reasons in this scene. One reason is we are not looking at the sun directly, which is, a good idea, you see, to create some God rays, because when you look at the sun directly, in front of you, you get a very overexposed area, and that makes sense, okay? But otherwise, it's kind of weird and wrong to have some God rays. You can get something like a part of it. Let's say that we have this image and we crop it here. We can anyway have some God rays, but it sounds weird. And as you can see in this image, there's a lot of fog. And in our image, so the second reason is I would not do this in here because we don't have enough fog. We don't have enough dust in the air to simulate something like that. But anyway, this is one way. It works really well. It works really well when you have the sun visible in the scene, and so you get basically you can just put the pivot exactly, the first pivot, the one with the zoom effect, exactly where the sun is, and it works amazingly. Okay. Another way to create God rays could be to create a custom brush like we did in the previous video when we had to paint light on the walls. But there is another way to accomplish God rays, and this is it. Now, what we need to do is to, first of all, create a new layer behind the tree and fill it with a little bit of here color of the light you see is basically is my way to say, okay, there's sun below there. I mean, below this layer and behind the tree, I would say. Okay, so I take a very smooth brush and I start painting, this area a little bit brighter. Now, what can you do then? You can, make a copy of this layer, Ctrl J, and we want to keep only these areas inside the tree holes. So we control click on the tree layer, and with the selection on this layer, we click on cancel. Okay, we delete everything but those areas. And if you move this layer, you will understand. Okay. And now what to do? Now we can take this layer, bring it there, because we suppose that, let's suppose that the rays of light, coming from the tree, they will basically touch the ground there. Okay. And we press Ctrl T to get the anchors, and we squeeze down this image, this shapes, in order to put in perspective. Okay, let's simplify this. I mean, it's not going to work that well in this image again, because the sun is not that high, and there's no fog. Anyway, I will show you what to do now. What to do from here? I'm going to erase areas I don't care about, like this one, for example. I don't care about this. I don't care about this. And I need to work only on these area here. Okay. So now what to do? I take the finger, the smudge tool, which is the one with the icon of a finger, and I increase the strength to something very close to 100. Okay. Something like 98, 95 would be okay. And you don't have to get finger painting on for this example. Now I take shape like this. Okay, it could be with hardness to 0, as I can show you here. And what I'm going to do now is this. I'm starting from the further area, for the further zone, like this one. So not from this one, and I'm starting with the small brush. And basically what you need to do is this. You don't have to paint manually. You have to click once in this area and then press, or you can just press shift, click in this area. Sorry, click in this area, press shift, and then press another time with the mouse button up there. Okay, so you will see that the basically Photoshop will smudge this area to the top, and we are doing this and not the other way around, because at the end the line will be very thin, so it doesn't work if you do it the other way around. Now the problem is these area should be cut out, should be cut and pasted into a new layer, because if you keep doing it and I don't know, you pick this area, you will basically delete the first result, and you don't want that. Okay, so be careful, because when you start doing this, it's almost impossible to stop the software, because it's very expensive as an operation, so it could crash. Okay, anyway, what to do? You select with the lasso all the area, okay, you're basically not using, like this, and you press Ctrl X to cut it, Ctrl V to paint it, and then after you paste it, you put it there in position. I don't care if it's not perfect, and you keep doing it as many times as you want. And because these rays should opens a little bit, you need to basically start from this position, press shift, and then click on somewhere which is close to this point, because they should every line here should point to the same area anyway. And this is another one, and then I again take this area here. See, I should start from this small here, but it doesn't matter. We are going to delete this last part of the rays. So Control X again, Control V to paste, and then position it again there. And then I can smudge this now. And you continue to do this till you complete the entire area. Control X, Control V, put it there. Now I will speed up a little bit the process. If you want to speed up the process, of course, you need a bigger, a bigger brush. But at the same time, as you can see, Photoshop gets slower because there's many more things to handle, and so it gets slower. So my advice is to do this a little by little, piece by piece, and maybe at the end, before we collapse everything together, before we merge all this layer together, we can even move them a little bit and positioning them in the right place, because maybe we want to fix the ending point or the starting point. So it would be a good idea. So Control X again, Control V, this will be probably the last one, and smudge tool, and we do this. So working on different layers will give us the ability to, I would say, positioning them properly before we merge them, before we go on with the next step. So now we end up with these layers. In each layer there is a God ray, and we can see if we move them. And so what I'm trying to do now is to, probably rotate them a little bit in order to position them as I want. I would say that they should start mainly from the same point here, and then they should open up on the ground. If you want, you can even take one of these shapes and turn into a brush. Would make sense. You can even distort, something to make a thinner line at the top. And then what I try to do is to move them in order to have something that start exactly in a hole there. Sometimes you can do that, sometimes it's a little bit harder, but at least we could try. Now again, in this image doesn't make any sense because we don't have the sun up there, but it's just a way to show you how to handle with these kind of things. Okay, when you have something that you may like, now then you need to select all the layers with the shift. I mean, right now you can make a backup copy, so you can just press Ctrl J, and so you have another 5 layers, and then you merge them together with Ctrl E, and then you hide the old ones. Okay, so now this layer is just a single layer, and we can convert this to a smart object. Once it's a smart object, we can then put a mask and hide these part of the rays, and then filter, blur, radial blur, and we just spin them a little bit in order to break a little bit this sharpness we have here. And if you don't like the result, you can go back on this filter and, you know, get something a little bit less strong. Back and forth, as always. Okay, now let's say that I like something in the middle here. I don't know, something like 6. Let's try. Okay, cool. And then what you need here is a black layer in color dodge, because you should have some light on top of the leaves. So we bring this black layer in color dodge on top of the tree. We attach it to the tree, and with a very, very low opacity, we start painting a little bit of light there, you know, where the light is passing through. Okay, you don't want to exaggerate. Okay, you can exaggerate if you want, but at least you can go down with the, you know, with the transparency, with the opacity of this layer. And then on top of this, a little bit of glow. Okay, and glow is transparent layer in screen mode, like the God rays. And so, you know, a small, you know, low opacity, and you start, you know, little by little adding a little bit of glow exactly where, you know, the area is overexposed because there is a lot of light. And as you can see, you know, God rays plus the color dodge, black layer in color dodge layer, you know, plus this screen layer for the glow, you know, little by little, one by one, we get to a nice result here. Now, it doesn't make sense. Again, I want to underline this, you know, for this scene, doesn't make any sense, but you see is a kind of realistic result. And, you know, you can do this if you need. I'm going to hide this whole group because I'm not going to keep it, you know, doesn't make sense for this image. So I'm, you know, grouping this tree plus God rays, and I keep it off. But you will find it in the final zip file you can download.